6'9", 11 3/4, and threw in the Olympics in shot put. One of the best technical shot putters ever in the history. Uses a great training method. If you were in the weightlifting last night, you heard about the Bonner-Chuck method, everyone calls it. He's one of the masters of that systems, and he's going to come out and he's going to lay down some knowledge bombs on you guys. So take notes, ask questions. This is a guy who transformed himself from one type of athlete, one type of life, to a whole another one. And that's what you got to do. You got to transform yourselves. That's what Rodhe knows how to do. All right?
Thank you, Sean. All right, knowledge bombs, huh? Let's start with the title. Who wants to read the title? A free pair of
fundamental efficiencies and throws.
You can have 2 free pairs.
What?
Somebody else.
Fundamental efficiencies and throw strength.
And
training structures, energy management, equipment to improve the performance.
There we go. And so with the performance anxiety, bigger voice, fundamental efficiencies and throws training, training structures, energy management, and equipment to bridge the performance gap. Okay, what that means, I'm gonna tell you guys how to get better at throwing in the best way and to shorten that learning curve from where you're at now to your conference champions and the national champions, okay? Some ways we can increase our effectiveness as a thrower. You can increase your volume of throws. Problem with this is quantity versus quality. There is a range of limited returns, okay? After you get to so many throws in a practice session, it's no longer going to be necessarily helping you. Point in fact, I worked with a very experienced athlete this last week who has a really, really big habit of one of the main things that breaks down as you get tired as a thrower is your body doesn't want to stay low and bent, it wants to work up. And this athlete could not stay down, just everything springing up, springing up, springing up. Come to learn, most of their training sessions were well beyond 30 throws, 50 throws, you know, almost all sessions over 50 throws. So there is diminishing returns on quantity. So can't necessarily look there. Drill work. Drill work is fantastic, especially for younger throwers, beginning throwers. How I use drill work in my training sessions is the athlete's having a problem, we'll hit a drill 3 or 4 times, and then they're done. Then they're going to throw again. Okay, I don't have them do a big block of drills in the beginning because it tires the body out. We'll get into that later when it comes down to efficiency of energy in training sessions and fast twitch to slow switch fibers. When you're doing drill work, be very, very careful about loaded versus non-loaded. Non-loaded drills, I've seen countless All-American, World Champion, Olympic Champion drill throwers. They look fantastic. They're fast, they're light. They have all kinds of torque. You put an implement in their hand, and they look like garbage. They fall apart, they have no strength. Do drills loaded. It's a completely different feeling. Your body must learn how to work under tension. Think about in the weight room, when you're trying to learn a lift, you know, how many reps are you going to do with a push broom or a PVC pipe before it's like, okay, I kind of get the movement, now we're going to pick up an actual barbell, right? Has to be under load. Another way we can improve is increased weightlifting results. Power lifts, which would be more of like your bench, squat, and deadlift, and then your Olympic lifts, your snatch, clean, and jerk. Also, you know, very effective in improving your performance. Again, the transfer to the throw is not as high as doing special strength exercises. Again, here we have, you see this whole chart is going down to being the most effective. In the weight room, your Olympic lifts are going to have a higher rate of transfer than your power lifts. Okay, so when you're designing programs for your athlete, if you're in more of a general phase or getting into more specific phase, you're going to want to program with the higher percent of exercises in the corresponding categories for your goals. Special strength exercises, there's stuff you can do in the weight room, and then there's stuff you can do at the throwing circle. Okay, and throwing exercises at the throwing circle where you're actually projecting an implement away from your body is the best way to get better at being a thrower. Makes sense, right? Some of our world's best drivers got all their training on Grand Theft Auto, right? Not on the actual road. Practice the actual event to get better. Okay, applications for throwing sessions. How do you want to design your time at the, how do you want to design your time at the circle? I want to know, this whole presentation, all this stuff builds into 2.5 hour practice window. Okay, from the time the athlete shows up to the time they leave for recovery, 2 to 2.5 hours. You have competitive movement exercises and special strength exercises. Competitive movement exercises is the full throw, okay? Full glide, full rotation. If they're a 3-turn or a 4-turn thrower, it's that movement, okay? And you can break that down into light implements, heavy implements, and then the competitive weight. Your light implements are, well, let's start with the heavyweight. You want to teach an athlete something, you want to get them stronger and more powerful at an element of the throw, give them a heavyweight implement. They can't cheat it. It keeps them down, it throws them around. The first time you give it to them, they look awful. Dane touched on this in his presentation. The first time you work on new technique, they look terrible. Of course, they must learn. They have to get sport mastery. Keep them on it, make them work. It will force them to be more efficient. It will force them into good technique. Now, your job as a coach would be to keep that athlete away from an injury zone, obviously. And your job as an athlete is to talk to your coach and say, hey, this really feels like too much, can we back it down or whatever. Heavy implements build and create better technique. Light implements give you an opportunity to master and discipline that technique. Because you're going from something heavy that's forcing your body to be efficient, and now you're going to get a light implement that you can kind of cheat and throw around a little bit, and it forces you to actually execute and be disciplined in those efficient movement patterns, okay? A lot of times, the heavyweight is going to slow you down, and when you throw a lightweight, you're going to have to mentally, you have to slow your brain down. You have to be disciplined in having length of movement, okay? A lot of times people get light implements, and they just want to pop, 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 gone, and there's no length of power in that. You must remain long and patient when doing your light implements. And then your competition weight, you're going to train as you get into competition season, 50 to 80% of your throws with competition weight, and it's blending these two elements that you're having in your light. Special strength exercises, strength elements and speed elements. Now, we talked about competitive movement being full throw. Your special strength is going to be anything of a stand throw, a half spin, a South African, a glide stop, a one-step throw, anything like that it's one variation away from the full competitive event. That's a special strength exercise. We break that out into strength and speed elements. Strength elements usually overweighted, you're talking 15, 20, 30, 40-pound dumbbells based on the qualification of the athlete and the event. And this is, you can do fuller movements with this because it's forcing the body to be more efficient. Okay, you can do half spins, you can do glide stops. The speed elements I keep just to stand throws, just very, very fast stand throws. Typically, we're working this with just discus and one-arm hammer throws. I don't do a whole lot of like stand speed stuff with shot because it can be a little touchy on your elbow. So we'll get into some of this stuff later for specifics, but we're looking at a discus stand throw, and what this does is it overspeeds the striking system. Okay, a lot of times we get to the front and we break down. It's a critical element. We break down and kind of slow down. Body breaks. Working these speed elements forces us to attack the final. Not when you land in double support and you're thinking about the finish. This takes that away. It gets you into a more aggressive, very automatic strike muscle memory. And then here we have, we'll be looking for 20 to 30 efforts on the competitive movement in one session. And special strength, you can break it out anywhere from 30 to 60. Some really high-end athletes could maybe be broaching 100, 120 reps on some variations. But it gives you roughly double special strength to competitive events. Okay, so we did all of our throwing stuff, now we're going to go in the weight room, right? Ideally, you do all your throwing, and then I like to do special strength right after throwing. We'll have a chart later, we'll explain that. And then you go into your weight room. When you get in the weight room, now when you do your throwing, you're going to do some general warm-up, some specific activation for that athlete in their throws. When you go in the weight room, then you're going to want to do some more global activations, some deficiencies that athlete has with their lifts. And then the first elements you do is if you have special strength movements in the weight room, this would be things like standing bench press or a landmine punch. If you have some medicine ball stuff you want to do inside instead of being outside, you would do that then. And then you go into your Olympic lifts, and then your power lifts, and then your ancillary lifts, and then your prehab and rehab at the very, very end, okay? Ancillary, it's a little more specific than auxiliary lifts. This is things like sit-ups and dumbbell flies and good mornings, stuff like that. Now we did the throwing session, the weight room session. This is the entire training session. Order of operation, the first thing you do is you're going to want to work your light weights over to your comp weights, over to your heavy weights when you're at the circle. This allows you to train your fast twitch fibers first, and then your slower twitch fibers, more strength-based stuff later. The fast twitch fibers are the most delicate, and they're gonna burn out the quickest. So you want to take advantage of the energy you have and do those things first. Then you get your special strength. When you design your special strength session, you're going to go from your light stands into your more heavy disciplines, the heavy full throws or heavy partial throws. And then if you have a weight room exercise, you would do that next. And then your weightlifting, Olympic power, ancillary. Not every training session has to have every one of these components. Okay, for example, you might have light in a comp weight, and then you might have just some heavy throws, and then you're going to come in and you're going to do all three of your lifts. Okay, so this is just a breakdown of the theory of how you should progress through your training session and to take advantage of activating and training the proper muscle groups before you lose the energy to train those systems. So here, the numbers here, the units is a theoretical value, okay? It's not an actual amount, but this is to show you the idea. When you start the training session, you have 100 units of potential energy. And as you go across, this is the order of operation: heavy, light, special, power, recovery. Every operation you do, you're going to lose energy, okay? And I kind of can't really see here too well, but light throws are going to take less energy than your heavy throws. Your heavy throws are going to hit your energy, your training energy, heavier, right? It's going to take more points away from you. So when you're designing your training sessions, keep in mind you only have so many units of energy to use, and where you put your time, where you put your energy is going to matter, and how much you put in your training session is going to dictate how efficient you are at getting all of your energy in the right places at the right times. Okay? If you come out, you do your powerlifting and Olympic lifting first, and then you want to go out and do your throws, you just trashed all of your special nervous fibers. All of your fast twitch fibers are going to be gone, and you go out to the throwing circle and you're going to feel like spaghetti. Okay? You want to feel crisp when you're doing your competitive event training. And then, yeah, so, and as you're progressing through your workout, you should be getting, not just using energy, but you should also be feeling fatigue levels increasing, okay? And then as your fatigue levels increase, sometimes too, you might want to incorporate specific activities in the end of a training session. I don't put special strength throws at the end of my training sessions. Dane said he did. So that would be an example of training an athlete in a fatigue zone to force their body to respond and remember that stimulus. So just keep in mind that the difficulty of learning the activity increases as you go down this path. So, and with difficulty of learning, it requires a heavier biological response in your nervous system to learn that. If you're training something while tired, there's a potential for you to have a higher nervous system recruitment at remembering that. that's going to help you. It's going to help you learn the event. It's not going to help you train the event. Okay, it's not going to help build you. It can help you learn, but it's not going to improve the performance necessarily. Okay, so we got a lot of questions about equipment out there. I get a lot of questions all the time about my equipment. Today we're going to talk about it. Okay, and the equipment I carry is stuff that can help you maintain training performance, training intensity, while getting in more work than your competitors. Okay, my stuff lets you train harder, train longer, and train safer than everybody else that you're going to see at competition. A big element to the shot put glove is injury prevention and injury maintenance. We've all had throws that come off and hurt our hand. We have a training partner who lost their career because they hurt their hand so bad. Two categories we can use the shot put glove in. Forgot to pass these out. I'm going to pass all the equipment around so everybody can. There's 3 sizes of gloves, and I'm going to pass around a pair of lifting straps and these blocking wrist straps. Pass them around, try them on, see what they feel like. Kind of do this while we're talking. We've got a better idea what this equipment is. So your mid-season, you sustained an injury. In 2009, I had lifetime bests. I went from 1907 to 1944, and in that competition, I missed a throw. It went like, I marked 1944. I had a throw it went like 1980, but it cranked off my hand. I hurt it real bad. And on the course of the 3-hour drive home, my hand froze up on the steering wheel. So I had to pry my hand off, okay? And all the fascial tissue in my hand was glued together. And it took me a lot of really intense therapy to get the hand back. But I had competitions to still do. I had a major championship coming up in a few months. So Bonachuk said, glove for all training throws. So from May through the end of July, almost 3 months, every single throw I took was with a shot put glove. And then I wore it all the way up through warm-ups of the championship meet, and I took it off, and I hit my first throws in competition in 3 months barehanded, and I threw 1929. Okay, I maintained my performance because I trained with the glove. It protected my hand. I could throw hard. I could release hard. I maintained my body through injury. Even though my hand was busted up, I still maintained my competitive level, my physique. And then now I crunched my hand again in the competition, and I spent more months recovering from that. That takes you in the second category. Let's say you sustained a long-term injury, you had a break to come back from it, or you had a surgery. Okay. When it's time to start throwing, put the glove on. You start with light shots, 3K, 2K, easy 10, 12 meter throws, and you slowly progress up in weights back to your competitive event. And what this allows is the shot put glove, you can steadily increase or decrease tension as needed, and it allows you to gradually bring the elasticity of the hand tendons and the soft tissue back into performance shape, okay? As opposed to if you have an injury and the hand's real tight, you pick up a shot put, you're not gonna be able to throw. You put a little protection on there, and you can gradually increase that elasticity over time and shorten your performance curve getting back to barehanded throws. So the internet's not working for me right now. I have a link here. Jordan Young, he's a Canadian thrower, University of Virginia, graduated last year. YouTube channel, Life of JY. If you go and look at it, he's got a clip. I think the title is something in the nature of everything wrong with my technique, or major things wrong with my technique. About halfway through the video, he gives a good little explanation of how he used the glove to come back from an injury. He came back from surgery, and within the course of 3 months, he's already throwing 18 meters again. This is a guy, he's a 3-event athlete. He's probably going to throw mid to high 60s in the discus, low to mid 70s in the hammer, and he's going to broach 20, 50, 21 meters in the shot. Okay. okay? So this is a high-end guy, college, well, post-college now, who just recently, this year, put this product to test, and he's already back to competitive shape. Him, his teammates, and his coaches are all really impressed with how quickly he's come back. Questions about the shot put glove for injury? Special strength. The hand, the wrist is the weakest point on your entire throwing system. So when you're in high volume, high load training, especially special strength where you're already 1 degree removed from exact transfer to your competitive event, wear a glove. Heavy stand throws, sometimes you can do weight ball stand throws, like a 20-pound, 35-pound ball. Put the glove on, protects the fingers, you're just working on the palm and the shoulder system for extension. Vertical tosses, if you have an athlete learning the direction of the throw or coming back from an injury, you can stand there, you can do 50, 60, 80, 100 tosses up in the air with the glove on, and you work the shoulder, you work the body, but you're keeping the hand intact so you can come back the next day and crank off 30 high intensity throws barehanded. Okay? So special strength application is you're working your body more than the hand, right? Shot swing device. I try to include this in all of my presentations. It's kind of what I would consider the golden BB of shot training. You put a medicine ball in a harness and you hang it from a chain. Ideally 2 chains that come in one point. If you have just 1 chain, it can swing like a crazy pendulum all around. If you have 2 chains, it swings in one direction. You put them up the height of the athlete here. They take 3 steps, front foot, back foot crosses over, they plant the front foot again, and then you throw through the ball, swings up, hits a net, pad, comes back. You release it, step to the side, it comes back, you walk back over here, grab it again, and you go. You can hit hundreds of reps in a short amount of time with this. You glove up, and you can hit that ball as hard as you want, and you're not going to hurt your hand. And it's a massive stimulus, massive strength training for the body in a very, very short amount of time. Again, making use of the energy within a 2-hour window. The third point for the shot put glove: rain and mud and cold. If you don't have an indoor facility, but you still need to get your throws in. The glove, it gives you a little bit of extra layer of insulation, keeps the soft tissues in your hand warm, keeps the tendons warm. Nothing's going to hurt your hand quicker than grabbing a cold shot put and letting all that cold seep into your tendons, all your finger bones, and you're done. Within 10 seconds of being outside, you're done. Your hand has no flexibility left in it. Wear the glove, you can maintain flexibility for the entire duration of the throw session outside in cold weather. Rain and mud, it helps with grip on the shot put, so you need less chalk. Chalk doesn't work in the rain anyway. Okay, so you can get more effective releases with the glove than if you're barehanded and wet. Also, if you have an athlete that's learning new training principles and they're missing the shot, they're hurting their hand, you're in the wet and they're slipping a lot, with the glove on, your hand will likely not sustain catastrophic injury, okay? People that train with it, you can hit throws harder, and if you miss the throw, it might hurt a little bit, but you're not gonna tear your hand apart. But you know, like the ball comes off and ooh, and you know if you weren't wearing that glove, you'd be out for 6 weeks, okay? So inclement weather, really, really good training tool to keep you healthy. We get everything there? Yeah. The last 15,000 elite quality releases. So it's pretty much a one-time buy for most people. Tape is great for wrist support. It is expensive, not necessarily always repeatable. And in places of high humidity or really high-end competition where you might be really nervous, you might have to reapply it. By the time you get to your 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, after all your warm-up throws, the integrity of that tape might not be what it was in the beginning. You have to reapply, use more tape. And if you travel, you have to take a ton of tape with you. When I used to travel training camps, I'd have to take almost an entire suitcase of tape for 1 month of training. You have a really nice wrist support, you need a lot less tape. Non-stretch wraps. The wrist supports that I sell, they are blocking wrist supports. They have the metal buckle, you lock them down, the wrist cannot move past that buckle point. It creates a lot of back pressure, a lot of tension, and it leads up to even more powerful releases. Tensor wraps, okay? Don't use them. I think they're garbage. You gotta muck with wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap. They cut off circulation. You gotta readjust them over and over and over again. There's more material, they get dirtier. Over time, the elasticity breaks down really quickly, so that now you gotta wrap it even tighter and tighter and tighter, and it's not as effective. And the tighter you're wrapping it, the more blood circulation you're cutting off, the more often you're gonna have to take it off and redo it. I threw with one for a while, and I gave it a go, and it didn't work for me. Now that being said, in college, Sean, you were talking about, I started my college year, I threw 37 feet, 34 feet my first competition. And by the end of my freshman year, I threw 46 feet. Went on to throw 59 feet in college. Almost all of that was with very little chalk and no wrist support. So I threw my whole college career with nothing. For me, it was kind of I didn't take any supplements or anything during my college career. I think I kind of wanted to see what I could do completely natural, right? Like no assistance. Looking back on it, if I had worn a wrist support, I probably would have thrown even further, okay? Also with a block wrap with a buckle, it's on, off, on, off, on, off. You can adjust it really, really quick. Also with these, you can use them if you have really heavy face, a bench press or push jerk. You double them up on your wrist, you keep your wrist healthy. Again, protecting the weakest point in your whole throwing system. If you're a little bit fatigued, protect it for a session or two, keep it healthy so you can keep working it hard, keep working in those high intensity zones. Use of lifting straps. Obviously, your overloaded pulls, deadlifts, snatch pulls, clean pulls, you want to hit more in the body, so you take your grip out of it. I have my athletes, and I use them almost exclusively for light loaded Olympic lifts, because it's all about bar speed, okay? And you want to move that bar as fast as possible, so take the grip out, don't worry about it, strap up and hit that bar, hit it really hard and fast as you can. You don't have to worry about your grip breaking. Another thing here, okay, when your hands are tired, right, your hands are going to tense up and you're a little bit afraid of having the bar get away from you. You're going to tense up, your arms are going to shorten, and now your movement isn't as effective, right? It's not as long. You're short and tight. Another thing with throws training to keep in mind is you need strong hands, but you don't want tight hands, okay? Because your hands have to be flexible and powerful to whip on the discus and to get the final snap on the shot, okay? So be careful about how much grip strength we're doing, how much pulling you're doing on that bar, because if you get a big hawking meat hook hand, well, now you can't accelerate the ball. You can't accelerate the discus in those final moments, okay? So be careful about the balance between strong hand and unnecessary tightness in the hand. You want to keep very strong but elastic soft tissue, okay? Types of straps. Long time ago in the fantasy world of Camel's training camp, oh, he left. Is Dane in here anymore? I think he stepped out. All right. Some scrub thrower was in Kamloops before I got there. He was kind enough to let me crash in his apartment for 2 weeks till I found my own place. And he had a pair of lifting straps up there I'd never seen before. They were closed loop lifting straps. They looked a little bit different than this. and he had, I think he borrowed them from Penn State, maybe. And they're a closed loop design. And I tried them out and I thought they were the best thing ever because you can be on and off the bar really fast. And it's a lot of material around the bar, it's all in your hand, there's less fuss. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And then a couple of years later, when I started making more things out of leather, I started making my own. And I really like this design because it puts a ton of material on the bar and you're not going to get catastrophic failures. I don't know about you guys, I've seen a lot of times people have, you know, these cotton web wraps or nylon wraps, and you go around the hand, you have the strap dangling down, you gotta wrap it around 3 times and cinch it up, and they spend 10 minutes putting the wraps on the bar, right? And they get up there, big, heavy, clean, and the strap pops, the bar flies across the weight room, they get drugged, and you'll go back and look at the wrist wrap, and it's just tiny little section. It was all scrunched up because when you wrap that around, it's on your wrist, and that one little piece comes down and wraps around the bar. Well, the stuff that's on the bar isn't doing you any good. It's just a little piece between the bar and your hand. It's actually holding the support. And it gets all scrunched up, and if one little failure gets in there, the whole thing's going. Okay? This design strap puts more material on the bar, less chance for failure, and leather will not catastrophically, it will not rip all the way through. It will slowly tear fiber by fiber, but it's not going to go all the way through like a man-made material. Okay? So there's a lot more safety with this kind of stuff. Also, materials. When you're shopping for lifting straps, be cautious about types of bars you're lifting on. Okay, if you have high grip, high deep knurling bars, your straps aren't going to last as long. Right? Also, the material strap that you're buying, be cautious. Get something good. Get something that's not going to break down. You know, it doesn't matter what kind you get. Just be cautious and mindful when you're purchasing your lifting straps. Okay. That is all the information for the presentation. Products available at Rodhe Sports, and we sponsor Throws Chat. It's a great platform, social platform for you guys to see what's going on in the world of throws. I know they have a lot of good merchandise as well. Yeah, so if you're not following them, follow them. You get a lot of good updates. I think they're going to do a lot of podcasts from this event this weekend. Okay, questions. Questions about the equipment and questions maybe that carry over from the shot put session we just had outside. Yeah.
Going back to the workout schedule. Going back to your practice schedule.
Yeah.
The whole day. In your throw session with the light and deep heavy, I'm just wondering, are you also including like their warm-up reps for their pulls, or just the full competitive throws?
Yeah. Warm-up reps, I would say, 3-5 attempts between stand throws and maybe some really easy pulls. Not a whole lot in terms of warm-up on the actual throw, because as soon as you pick up the ball, you're starting to tax that specific nervous system. So I keep it very, very minimal. An example of a throwing session: 3 stands, 10 halves, 10 fulls. 5 stands, 15 fulls. Or you could do 10 fulls with the light, 10 fulls with the comp, 10 fulls with the heavy. No stand throws. Okay. Yeah. And for myself as a coach, even though it's a prescribed load, say I give them 20 full throws, I'm going to give that athlete 2 or 3 throws to kind of knock the rust off and find their rhythm. As a coach, I really try and give the athlete at least 1 throw, if not 2, where I don't say anything. I'm just observing their condition for the day. I'm observing, is this going to be a good day? Is this going to be a bad day? Is this going to be the day where I have to cue them on the thing we always have to work on, or something new? So as coaches, give your athlete a throw or 2 to find themselves before you start impeding on their process.
Can you talk about how you make like a shot swing at a high school or in a garage or something like that?
Yeah. Ideally, you're going to want like 12, 14 feet of space, vertical space, ideally. I did one on a short length of about this high. It worked, but it wasn't great. The thing about you have to keep in mind is the shorter vertical space you have, the less reaction time you have to get out of the way of the ball. Okay, because you throw it and it's only 3 or 4 feet away, it's coming back. So keep that in mind. Set up your nets and stuff based on the vertical space that you have. Like I said, chain works the best. Sometimes people can use like the rubber coated cable, that works okay. I know some people hang it up on a weight cage. You want to talk about how you do that, Sean? Any specifics on that? End of the weight cage on the pulleys?
Yeah, up on the pulleys, we use the chains, and we put up on the doors. We actually put a shot put in like a weight sack, that way we can change the weight of the ball. And then they just line it between the cage and they run up and they hit it. One thing that's nice, when we put it up on the doors is hinges. So as the ball goes out, the door goes out, the slap goes away, and then it stops right away. That's one that you were saying earlier, if you only have that on one chain, it hits, it goes everywhere, it's terrifying. That's how we had it at Mount Union. I had it like in his closet and I smashed all these lights all the time.
Yeah. Safety is really key.
Yeah.
I thought about gloves, safety for the hand while doing it. Safety for the person is also. I've seen, once this idea kind of started being passed around, I saw a lot of really good coaches at really big schools had like single wire with outdoor weight balls, like iron balls swinging around. It's foolish, right? It's an unneeded risk. When I set up my shot swings, it is a firm dead ball, right? A rubber dead ball, medicine ball, in a nylon harness with super heavy rings, and I like to get triangle twisting clasps you get from the hardware store, and then that goes into your chain. Spend the money. I got my dead balls. I measured the exact diameter and circumference of this. I sent the measurements over to Steve Bartholomew down near athletics. This happened across, I was in Canada, in British Columbia, he was in Indiana. I sent him the measurements. He made the harnesses. I went on a road trip, I picked them up, I brought the balls with me. I took the harness he made, I dropped the ball in, and it fit perfectly. Now, I had to like press the ball in to make it fit, and it was tight. That guy does really good work. Okay, so if you want to invest in this, buy yourself some really good dead balls, take the measurements, ask him if he'll make you some custom harnesses, and they last forever. This was like 7 years ago, I still have them. A really good system for setting up a double chain with this is 2 lengths of chain. It goes up into like some type of a circle clasp or some type of a pulley, and the back side of the chain comes back down on itself on each side with a hook and a clasp. So then as the height of your athlete changes, or the length of your device, you might have different size balls and different size harnesses, and you want it to be pretty precise for each athlete. With this setup, then all you have to do is take the clip out and slide each chain up and down a few lengths to change the total vertical distance of the ball. So that's probably the best way to set it up. Under bleacher stands is a good place. Yeah. Questions about equipment, gloves? I'm looking at somebody who had one earlier. No?
Do you put on the shot put glove? How does it work?
Oh, yeah, okay. That's fair, huh? 3 holes, 3 fingers, 3 middle fingers, thumb and pinky are left to control the ball, right? You need that support there. And then with the strap, I prefer feed the strap in first and then take the whole shot put glove through, and then it's really easy to cinch it down like that. You want the neoprene on top so the nylon webbing can bite into the rough side of the leather on the bottom. That'll keep it tighter. And then, so now it's on, you're good to go. You can pick up shots with it. You can toss stuff around. You can take a brick of chalk, just smash this thing with chalk. Just fill it up with chalk, get it real gritty. And then as you're throwing with this system here, you can pull the tab to increase the tension as you need. And then it's really easy to adjust the tension on that wrist wrap. okay? My wrist wrap, I got a little sweaty, I need to tighten it up. Done. I talked about tensor wraps before, you have to redo the tensor wrap. Right, you take it off, rewrap it, da-da-da-da-da. If you're in competition, who has time for that, right? You're worrying about your wrap, and you get one of these, just boom, done. Is that good?
Yep.
For the different sizes, almost all women are smalls. Almost all men are mediums. If you're over 6'2", you might be a large. The medium glove, as you might suspect, is perfectly sized for the creator. Okay, that is what almost a near perfect fit for a shot put glove looks like. Okay, so if you guys are ever looking to get some, or you have somebody who's, you have a friend in a different school who wants one, here I'll do each hand here. See if I can get my fingers in the small. Yeah, this would be an example of too small and too big. Okay, you guys can see the difference there. Key points is to look at where does the corner pass of the webbing on the pinky, and then how much clearance is on top of or below the knuckles. You don't want your knuckles covered up, and you don't want to see too much of your that segment of your finger. Okay.
How often do you measure your athletes' practice throws, and when do you find it was appropriate?
Okay. If I'm running them on a complex method, tracking the nervous system, it's every day, and it's every throwing variable, pretty much. I might let stand throws go away, but if we're doing halves or souths or fulls, the light fulls, heavy fulls, we're measuring every variable. And I do that so that over the course of a year or two, I can see patterns. I can see which ball the athlete responds to the best. In Dane's lifting presentation, he talked about he tries to pair up which lift works really well with the athlete's throwing outside, like a lift with a weighted ball. Well, the same thing, I look for which type of ball, what type of weight affects that athlete for highest performance. So when we're coming to a championship, like we need good result, I give them a shot put combination that I know they're going to respond really well to. And then you said, what was the question again? Can you repeat the question?
What is the best, if you're not on a complex system, if you weren't measuring?
Oh yeah, there we go. That way, then I say that typically then we end up doing more like technique tempo days and then really hard training days. And I would say don't measure when the athlete's down. Just measure enough so that you can kind of keep track of where they're going. And if you have lines in your sector or something, a lot of times you don't really need to measure that athlete because you know, like, they're a low 14 meter throw. They're low 14s today, okay. Right, you need to be real specific. Something I really like to do for keeping track of distances in my home pit is I will take like 1 1/4 or 2.5 pound weight plates, like the really small ones that nobody ever uses, and find out how deep your pit goes, dig a hole down to the very bottom of the bedrock underneath all the stand or all the cinders, find out that length and tie nylon rope, nylon cord to that weight plate, bury it in the material so that just about this much is sticking up. And you do that either one line down the middle for like every meter or how often you want, or you can do 2 down each third. And then that way, you as a coach, you don't even need a tape measure. You know, because you got all these little ropes sticking up. And when you need to rake it or grate the pit, you just go right over the ropes and they stay right there. Okay, so that's a really good system for kind of gauging the condition of your athletes on a day-to-day basis without pulling out the tape measure. Some athletes are real head cases, and you pull that tape measure out and they just, so you can gauge that as a coach. But for me, complex methods every day, good, bad, doesn't matter, we're measuring. Otherwise, to your discretion, as long as the athletes where they need to be in the program.
How do you change your, I don't want to say grab them out, but just like your system when you get that championship month, that championship's like end of the season kind of run? Like, do you change it up a lot, or is it just like little tweak based on the athlete?
Competitive weight has to be thrown entire competition season. If you come off competitive weight, it better be for just like 10 days. So competitive weight all the way through. Rep scheme, I'm going to be hard pressed to give an athlete more than 20 quality reps, quality throwing reps in a training session. That includes halves, 10 halves, 10 fulls, and that's it, right? Or just 20 fulls, and that's it for a training session on a full throw. Special strength, light stuff is going to be probably kept between 30 and 45 reps. 3 or 4 sets, 30 or 45 reps. Heavy stuff is either completely cut out in the championship month, or you might be running 4 or 5 reps for 20 total. Just some, like five half spins, two or 3 sets of that, something like with a heavy dumbbell. So I pull that back. But weight room loads, they stay high intensity. I don't, in a complex method, you don't deload the athlete. In a traditional volume intensity, volume load structure, I would say don't deload the athlete in the circle, but you can back them off a little bit. Back off the volume in the weight room. Don't back off the intensity.
Do you apply like complex methods training to like each of the throwing events, including like javelin or even glide, shot put, or would you say it's more specifically rotational events?
No, the method applies to any singularly specific sport. So it's just going to depend on the classification of exercises for that event, of which exercises are competitive, which exercises are special development, special prep in general for those events. But it throws all the way to bowler or golf, a designated hitter in baseball will all kind of be examples of stuff where you could train that type of method.